on, guys? RedBeard here from the Self-Reliance Self-Preservation Guild. It's been a long time since I put together a video, so I was tasked today to use up some old avocados, and the best way we like to do that around here is making guacamole. Everybody's got a different idea as to what guacamole is or isn't, and sadly a lot of people don't like guacamole. They see it, it looks kind of gross, or they've had it maybe pre-bought or made by somebody who didn't maybe put all the flavor into it that it could have had and didn't like it. But I have found that a lot of people, once they've said to me, oh, I don't like guacamole, I say, try mine, and they put it on a chip and they go, oh my gosh, that's not at all what I thought guacamole tasted like. I said, yeah, this is what guacamole tastes like when it's properly rounded with lots of different flavors and properly seasoned, and the acidity levels are right and the spice level is right. So I'm going to take some time here and show you how I make my guacamole. There's lots of different variations, but to me this is a standard. And basically what I'm going to do is I could sit here and cut everything up by hand with a knife, and I've done that, and I still do that a lot of times. But I found that the results almost turn out the same if I process all my flavor additives in the food processor. Basically turns out the same. So what I basically want to do is make a pico de gallo Mexican fresh salsa with cilantro. So I have my tomatoes, my hot peppers, and bell pepper, onion, garlic, cilantro, and lime. Those ingredients together make the pico de gallo, the salsa, the flavor. After I've got that done, really all I have to do is cut up the avocado, put it into a bowl, mash it all up, and adjust the seasoning. That's as simple as that. So what I'll do here is I'll just get these ingredients all blended up. I'll show you which ones go in first. It really doesn't matter, but how I do it, and we'll get ready to go. So I'll just take the ends off these tomatoes, get the root out, but I want to save as much as I can, so I will kind of nip the ends off here and just leave out the root. Just chunk these into manageable sized pieces. Very ripe tomato. Okay, I'll take my garlic and I'll just cut it down to a slightly smaller chunk. Just makes it a little easier on the processor so I don't have to turn this into a paste. Not a big deal if you do. Same with the onion. Make that a little smaller chunk. So that's about a quarter of a medium-sized onion or half of a small onion. You don't want too much onion or it really sort of takes over as it sits for a day. And you do want to let your guacamole sit for maybe not a whole day, but at least a few hours. Let the garlic and onions and the spice all kind of leach out into the avocado. With your jalapenos, you can gauge how hot it is by taking a little nibble, or just go with it and put the whole thing in. If you want it mild but you still want the flavor, of course, just pull the seeds out. I use a spoon rather than your finger because it gets underneath there and you touch your face and you burn. And that's no good. So, but yeah, leave your seeds in, and if you want it hotter, you can always adjust it with some hot pepper or some cayenne or some hot sauce, something like that. So again, I'll just chunk that. Always remember to wash your hands after using jalapeno, or you'll know it. Same with the bell pepper. I add the red bell pepper for a little added flavor, as well as just some nice color contrast. It's not mandatory, really. It's not essential. If you don't have it, it's not a huge deal, but I like the flavor it adds. I'll also use red onion if I have red onion to give that purple color, which I think is nice. Cilantro, I just kind of bunch it up into a little ball and just give it a little rough chop. And if you chop that a few more times, that'd be done. You wouldn't even have to throw it in the processor, but that's what I'm going to do anyways, so here we go. Okay, and then I'm going to juice 2 limes. And if you don't have limes, lemon is totally fine. And if you don't have fresh lemons, lemon or lime juice is okay too. And if you don't have any of those things, to be honest, a little white vinegar will do, but it's not ideal. For juicing citrus fruit, I like to use a spoon. Scoop right into there and just twist, giving a squeeze. and get all that juice out of there so you don't waste it. Citrus fruit is not cheap anymore. It used to be really cheap, but now some days it's, you know, 2 limes for $1, or lemons can be $1 each now. So you want to get everything out of it that you can. These are juicier limes than I thought, so I might just start with 1 and see how that goes. You can always add more later, which is good. So I'm just going to rinse my hands. And we'll just pop the lid on the processor and just kind of give that a rough buzz. Take a quick minute, just scrape the sides down, make sure that stuff gets a bit of a blend too. And just pulse it a few more times. What you'll have here is this nice sort of chunky pico de gallo salsa. If you added a little bit more tomato and a bit of salt to that, you'd have a nice salsa for chips. But it's not as tomatoey as you would probably want a salsa. If there is a bit of excess liquid, which this one does have, you can always drain that off gently, or you'll just have a little bit thinner guacamole, which is never a big problem. I'm just going to drain a little bit of that off. I'm going to toss that in my bowl here. So now at this point, I'll just take all my avocados, cut them in half, and scoop them out. If you've never done that before, I'll show you. What you want to do is make sure you've removed the little stem, and then very carefully with a decently sharp knife, you want to start at the fat end and just sort of pierce it till you get through the skin, and just gently slice through till you feel the seed. Spin it around gently so you don't slice your hand all the way till you get to the other side, and then it very simply twists open. Okay? You want nice ripe avocados for this. If there's a little bit of browning in the avocado, it's not a huge deal. But if it's gone sort of yucky and black, maybe discard it. But ideally, you want it to look sort of like that. Nice and yellow, not hard and green at all. It should be the consistency of cool butter. Not cold butter, but like cool butter. Another technique you can do if you don't want to spoon it out, you can just give it a good squeeze. Makes a bit of a mess sometimes, but that's usually what I do. I don't even worry about scooping it, I just squeeze them. Just be careful you don't get any of the husk in there, the shell. So once you've got all the avocados squished into the bowl there, I'm going to add what I consider a couple of my own personal secret ingredients, which is about a tablespoon of sugar. Okay? Just sort of rounds it out a little bit. Of course, you need a bit of salt. We'll start with about a teaspoon. A little less than. You can always add more, you can't take it out, so start with a bit, see what you think. And then a little bit of fresh ground cumin. Cumin's got that sort of smoky Mexican taste. You don't need a lot. Just maybe, I don't know, half a teaspoon or so. Gives it just a little bit of something different. And then, at this point, I just take a masher or a spoon, like a large wooden spoon, and I just sort of combine it all up. These are really soft avocados, so I can just use a spoon. Just sort of smash them. You don't need it to be completely paste unless you like it that way. You can have some chunks. Some people like it really chunky. Some people like it fairly smooth. It really doesn't make any difference. Alright, so once you have it all mixed up, you get something that looks sort of like this. It's not necessarily the most appealing looking thing, and it will be a lot nicer and fresher and greener if your avocados are a little bit newer than mine. Mine are getting a little on the old side. So you might get a slightly greener process, but it really doesn't matter. What's essential now is when you store it, is you put a piece of saran wrap over it and you press it right down to the guacamole so that there's no air in between, and then you will not get so much oxidation. You won't have it go brown on you. But that, at this point, you may want to adjust the seasoning, give it a taste. Does it need more salt? Does it need more lemon or lime? That's when you'll know. I've made this so many times. Everything I just added, it tastes pretty well perfect to my taste. So that's how I make my guacamole, guys. So if you're out there and you don't think you like guacamole, or you've made it and it hasn't turned out very good, try this recipe, see what you think, and let me know in the comments how you like it, if it turns out, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys. This is RedBeard. Thanks for watching.